Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello. In the first class, we have seen how humanities and science developed into separate discipline in the course of time. In today's class, let us engage with the humanities and the art and see what is the correlation they share, what is the relationship they have with one another. So, the people who have been working closely with the humanities and art have this to say: art and the humanities go hand in hand. Art illustrates the humanities, while the humanities translate and interprets the illustration. Another person says, the art are part of the humanities are part of the art. They are mixed, mingled and gloriously interdependent. The historians who creates a turn of phrase that perfectly captures our relationship to our past is an artist. The actor who sits in a bar after a show and dissects the audience's reaction to the performance is a humanist. I do not know how useful it is to draw a distinction between the two, but I know that it is essential to celebrate both. Origin of the word art comes from an Indo-European word which emerged in 13th century. It means to join or assemble. The art from then onwards has been encompassing various things like painting, singing, dancing, photography, videography and more recently films. Humanities, as we know, is a academic discipline which takes into account the human conditions more than human work, and it has been encompassing philosophy, religion, language and various fields of study which talks about human condition. So, then what is art? Art is a human activity which explores and thereby creates new reality in a supra-rational visional manner and presents it symbolically or metaphorically as a microscopic whole signifying a macroscopic. A work of art is the descriptive sense is an artifact upon which some society or some subgroup of a society has conferred the status of a candidate for appreciation. So, we see that humanities is more a discipline which critically and analytically study the human condition, whereas art is more emotional. So, what makes an object art? First is creativity. Every work of art has creativity, but every creativity might not be art. Creativity is the aesthetic representation of a thought and or a feeling. Skill. The tools by which this creativity is expressed is skill, like painting, drawing, dancing, singing, theatre. These are the skills. Engagement. When the work of art can talk to the audience looking at it, it is engagement. That is, it is trying to convey something. It is trying to engage the audience looking at it. Meaning, that is, the work of art should contain certain things that it wants to communicate. The more and more it has been realized that the onus on deciphering meaning from the work of art remains with the audience, but the work of art should entail some meaning. It should have some idea that it wants to convey or it is communicate. Now, let us see some of the very important work of art of the artist in the course of history. This is, as you know, is a painting of Mona Lisa painted by Leonardo da Vinci in 1503 to 1506. It was done on oil on popular panel. This painting is believed to have been painted over a course of time, and it is the best known, the most visited, the most written about, the most sung about, the most parodied work of art in the world. So, it is revered as thus. This is the creation of Adam done by Michelangelo. It was painted in 1508 to 1512. It illustrates the biblical creation narrative from the book of Genesis, in which God gives life to Adam, the first man. This is known as the Kiss. It was done by Gustav Klimt. It was painted in 1907 to 1908. This painting is known as the Scream, and this is a popular name given to a composition created by Norwegian expressionist artist Edvard Munch in 1893. Now, let us look at some of the Indian works. This is a painting done by famous Indian artist M.F. Hussain. It was painted in 1989. This is one of the contemporary painters of India. His name is Mr. Anish Kapoor. This painting is called Glow of Hope. Alternately, it is titled Women with the Lamb. It was painted by S.L. Haldankar. The work was painted in 1945 to 1946, and it is presently preserved in Mysore in Jagmohan Palace. This is a famous painting by Indian artist Raja Ravi Verma. It was painted in 1893, and this painting is called Here Comes Papa. So, what are the elements of art? What makes what does it entail? An work of art entails the 7 elements: line, shape, space, value, form, texture, and color. Now, let us look individually into each element. Line. Line is the path created when an object moves from one point to another. A line can be horizontal, vertical, diagonal, straight, curved, or free flow. It might be thick or it can be thin. It can be light or it can be dark. Sometimes one line can have all of these things. A line can be represented by dash or by dots. It might be rough or it can be smooth. It can be zigzag also. So, artists have experimented a lot with this element of art, the line. The next is shape. When the beginning of a line meets its own end, or when the line meets another line, then it forms a shape. In visual arts, shapes are 2-dimensional or flat. There are infinite number of shapes, but all fall into one or two categories, the geometric or organic. The geometric shapes fall in 4 groups. First is the square, then is the rectangle, a hexagon, or a circle. Organic shape can be free flowing, and it is often one of its kind. Each artist have her unique way of drawing shape: soft, sharp, well defined, or hazy. The next is form. When shapes get the 3rd dimension of depth, they become form. When circle get the 3rd dimension, it becomes a sphere. When square attains a 3rd dimension of depth, it becomes either a cube or a pyramid. When triangle gets its 3rd dimension, it becomes either a cone or a cylinder. In painting and sketches, form is implied, as it creates illusion of space, but in sculptures they occupy real space because it is three dimensional. Visual artists use light and shadow or increasing contrast between highlights and shadows areas or bright colors against neutral background to create depth, such as this. The fourth element is the texture. Texture is the look or feel of a surface. Like form, texture can be real or implied. In the left hand side, it is a sculpture. If you flow your hand in the sculpture, you will feel the different texture of the sculpture. But on the right hand side is a painting. If you rub your hand against the surface, you will only feel the smooth surface of the painting. That is, on the left hand side, the texture is real. On the right hand side, it is implied. It is made to feel that it has a texture. Countless ways artists create implied texture. Look at this painting by famous artist Roy de Forest. He has used lines to create texture. He has used zigzag lines, straight lines, wavy lines, a number of thick and thin lines to create the texture of this painting. Whereas, in this painting by Gustav Klimt, he has used shape to create the texture. He has used squares, he has used triangles, he has used circles, concentric circles to give a feeling of texture in this painting. Some artists even use real material to create the texture. In more contemporary work, they have such as this painting, the artist has used thread like objects, fabric to create the texture of the painting. The fifth element is value. Artists create the illusion of light by using a wide range of tonal and color values. Value is how light or dark a given color or hue is. Here is the value scale for gray tone. It ranges from absolute black to pure white, with a number of gray tones in between. All hues have similar value scale. Different values are created by lightening with white or darkening with black. When an artwork has many tones in between black and white, it is called low contrast, such as this. Whereas, when an artwork has very few tones between the black and white, it is called high contrast, such as this. The sixth element of an art is the color. Many artworks try to represent the world realistically by mimicking it, but some artists who call themselves the color-field artist, who emerged in the 1950s and 60s, made enormous paintings of one or two color to reinforce the fact that you are actually looking at the art painting per se. For them, color is a beautiful and worthy subject on its own, such as this. There are only three primary colors: the red, yellow and blue. All the other colors are formed by mixing these three colors. These three are called the primary colors. The next is the secondary colors: the orange, the green and the purple. These colors are created by mixing the primary colors, two of the primary colors in equal quantity. These are the secondary color. Then comes the tertiary color, when primary color is mixed with secondary color. Sometimes an art is made up of tint, shades, tones of only one color. These are called monochromatic color scheme, such as this. Artists personalize their works by creating their own tints, shades and tones. Color can evoke various feelings, moods and emotions. it can give you a feeling of warmth or soft by using colors which we associate with fire, like the orange, yellow, red, or it can give you a feeling of cold by putting colors which we associate with coldness, like white, soft beige, etc. The last element of an art is space. For many artists, space and how to transform the space is an important component of art. Space is an area where an artwork is organized. For painting and other two-dimensional artwork, it is the borders of the paper or the canvas it is made on. For paintings and other two-dimensional objects, it is the borders of the papers or the canvas that the painting is made on consist of the space. In this particular painting, the area in which the painting is done is the positive space, and the area which is left blank, mostly blank, is the negative space. Artists have experimented by trying to blur this difference. In this painting by Khalide Wardel, overlapping of the climbers give us a feeling of 2D space. That is, he has tried to experiment with the climbers to give us a feeling of the depth, and has tried to do away with the flat surface of a painting. Size, placement of object, contrast create impression of space. Now, let us see what is folk art and what does it entail. This is a folk art of South Africa. It is a basket. It is made with natural fiber. This is a folk art of Korea. It is called Minhwa. A very interesting idea is associated with this kind of painting. This kind of painting is supposed to have positive energy which ward away evil forces. This is Quimper faience of France. It is a hand painted crockery item. This is batik of Indonesia, a form of wax resist dyeing. UNESCO has designated batik of Indonesia as masterpiece of oral and intangible heritage of humanity. This is Kaloska embroidery of Hungary, splendid bunch of colorful flowers. This technique uses freehand drawing and mixed with a style of stitching. This is arpeleda of South America. It is a technique of stitching pieces of cloth to create a story. So, what is the uniqueness of folk art? And how do we distinguish it from other fine arts? Museum of International Folk Art has listed the following points regarding folk art. Folk art may be decorative or utilitarian, may be used, that is, it has utility value. It is trying to do some purpose, like we saw in the Korean art, that it has a value, it contains certain ideas behind it. So, it has a utility, and it can also be decorative. May be used every day or reserved for high ceremonies. Some of the art forms are used as day-to-day material. They are used for mundane uses, but they can also there are some other folk art objects which are used for festivals or for certain other religious ceremonies. Folk art is always handmade. It may include handmade elements as well as new synthetic or recycled components. So, here a very less mechanic use is done, it is mostly done by hands. May be made for use within a community of practice, or it may be produced for sale as a form of income and empowerment. So, these are very low low price items which are of limited manufacturing, because they are done with hand. So, you cannot produce in mass, they are very produced in small quantity, and they are always meant for the use of a certain community. May be learned formally or informally. Folk art may be self taught. So, folk art most often than not are always learnt by watching or by the word of mouth. Very rarely they are taught in schools. Many include intangible forms of expressive culture like dance, song, poetry and foodways. So, these intangible elements are also considered under folk art. Is traditional. It reflects shared cultural aesthetics and social issues. It is recognized that as traditions are dynamic, traditional folk art may change over time and may include innovations in traditions. So, when you look at a folk art, you always see certain elements of the tradition that it has come from. It contains the essence of the cultural community that has produced it, and always has something to say about the social condition or the social issues that the community comes from. Lastly, is of, by and for the people, all people inclusive of class, status, culture, community, ethnicity, gender and religion. So, the folk art, as I told you in the previous point, very less of mechanical aid is done. It is made by the people for the people, and very rarely you can see the distinction between class, status and culture within the folk arts. So, friends, we have seen what art is and what folk art is in this class. From the next class onwards, we will go deep into the folklore elements and see what is the essence of folk art. So, see you next time. Goodbye.